What's up? It's Tom. Thanks for being here. I just want to start out with some good highlights from this afternoon's game, Sunday's game, for the Minnesota Twins. It has been rough. It has been brutal. This has been one of the worst teams in baseball over the past month or so. So this just feels good. Let's just lean into that for today, or for the opener at least. We're going to zoom out a little bit, but we can enjoy this. We deserve to enjoy this a little bit more, some of these highlights from the game. Twins win 9-2 today. Doesn't completely make up for the homestand in which they went 3-3 against a couple of bad teams. Brooks Lee, you're seeing a lot of highlights here, made some nice plays in the field, drove in 5 runs. The Twins bullpen, 5 1/3 shutout innings of Ronnie Henriquez, Cole Sands, and Jorge Alcala. It's like a nice hot shower, you know. You feel nice and refreshed. Maybe you're still beat up from what you went through before that shower, and you're sore and you're tired. But at least, you know, we've washed that off to open the video here. But again, as I mentioned, Twins go 3-3 in a home series stand against the Angels and Reds. So they're kind of treading water, which that in order to make the playoffs, that's really all they need to do. Now, you know, of course, the way they've looked over the past month or so, you know, I don't think you can expect them to be there long in the playoffs, the way things have gone. But at the same time, we have seen this team flip a switch. You know, it's a long time ago now. The baseball season is incredibly long, but they had that nightmare opening stretch, and then they were as hot as anybody after that. You know, do I have much confidence that they're going to be able to pull that off again? No, but crazier things have happened, and, you know, would much rather get into the dance and then see what moves they can throw down from there. And, you know, 2.5 game lead, that's not a super comfortable lead, but worth pointing out that the Twins hold tiebreakers against the Tigers, Mariners, and Red Sox, and even though I don't think it'll probably come down to this, the Royals as well even. Interesting to note just in general that Baltimore is in the wild card now. They're really having a hard time of late, so we'll see how it all unfolds. You know, it's been tough, but, you know, we've got, I think, 13 games here. We'll take a look at the schedule a little bit later on, and yeah, it's a lot easier to talk about this. It's a lot easier to take a look at those highlights from today's game than it is to sort of talk about the current state of the Minnesota Twins, because that's not as fun. That doesn't feel like taking a nice warm shower. It's been bad. Let's move on to the minor league stuff. We'll circle back to the Twins in a bit, but I want to show some pitching highlights in particular. The Wichita Wind Surge, their season ended this weekend today. Marco Raya, though, this was from Friday. He had a great outing, 5 shutout innings for Marco Raya, a guy who has been under some pretty strict innings and pitch count limits this year, but stays healthy through the whole year. That's great. Not that many pitchers can say that these days. You know, Marco Raya stayed healthy throughout the season. He threw 92 2/3 innings. So didn't get to triple digits, but didn't get far off. And then today, C.J. Culpepper delivered 5 shutout innings for the Wichita Wind Surge. Really had that breaking ball going. He ends up this year, he was a guy that was hurt for a while. 58 1/3 innings this year for C.J. Culpepper. Combined between Cedar Rapids and Wichita, a 3.55 ERA and a 1.13 whip. Struck out 64 batters in that 58 1/3 innings. So C.J. Culp, I mean, it's a smaller sample than last year, but that's as good as he pitched last year. You know, and that was a performance that really put him on the map. And so, you know, really nice to see him apparently ending the year on the high note. While Wichita is done and the lower levels are done, the Saints are still playing. So, I mean, I guess there's a chance maybe some of these guys I'm talking about as if their seasons are over. Perhaps they get a call up to the Saints this week and get an outing too. I don't know. But as it stands, that's where those guys were. Here are the starting pitching performances across the minor leagues from Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Anyway, here are the notable hitting performances from across the minors from Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You've seen a lot of familiar names. A lot of these guys have had their names in this section of these videos all year. You know, Peyton Eales, Deshaun Kersey Jr., especially those two guys. Great to see out of them. And then, you know, the other thing we're keeping a close eye on this week, Walker Jenkins, of course, got that final week call up to Wichita. Didn't start out real good, but he finished strong in his final 3 games. The weekend, 1 for 3 on Friday, 1 for 5 on Saturday, 2 for 5 on Sunday. So collects 4 hits over the weekend, draws a couple walks as well, steals a couple bases too. So nice way to end the year. And again, now Walker Jenkins, even though he was only there for a week, he has an idea of what life is like as a Wichita Wind Surge. Being there with the coaching staff, the training staff, the team, a lot of these teammates probably, of course, some of them are hoping to be with AAA next year, but quite a few of them probably will be back in Wichita, and even just the living situation there. I think that's a really easy thing to forget about, that these guys are human beings outside of baseball. So I think him being familiar with what things are like there was a great idea to send him over there, and really no pressure when there's only a week. So Walker Jenkins, that's how he did, wrapping things up. Speaking of wrapping things up, this is what we have left. This is it. Twins are going to be playing at Cleveland for 4 games, at Boston for 3 games. Both are big series, obviously, but that Boston one in particular could be huge. Then they host the Marlins and then host the Orioles to end the season. I'll pencil them in. We'll put it that way. I hesitated to, you got that, I'm sure. I hesitated to make a stronger claim than that. Because, again, they haven't been playing well. But they are in a good situation in terms of the standings. And there just isn't a lot of time left. If there was more time than this left, the Twins would get caught by one of these other teams that's been playing much better. But I think those teams are going to run out of time. Now, the question is, can the Twins click? Can the Twins click and gain some momentum over this last stretch? It's really hard to be optimistic right now with the way they've played, but it's possible. Byron's back. Carlos is back. Those guys did not play today. They only played part of the game on Saturday. So they're not like all the way back. But, we saw from Royce Lewis last year, who was out for a long time and questionable, wasn't even really a lock to make the postseason roster, and then did. And immediately made an impact. So those guys, hopefully they can get up to speed and make the kind of impacts we think they can make. And even just defensively, that's such a big upgrade for the Twins. And then not just them being in their spots, but then a lot of the other guys can go into spots that are more natural for them as well. That's massive. So even if they struggle to get up to speed hitting actual live pitching, hopefully this is enough time they can do that. And again, they've been seeing a lot of pitching pregame. They've brought in some minor leaguers to throw to them, so hopefully they're getting up to speed. That would be huge. Joe Ryan's not going to make it back. He's out, so it's not like the Twins can get fully healthy at this point. Interesting to note, though, that Justin Topa is probably, it sounds like, going to make it back. And that's another kind of guy in there who it's like, is he going to make it all the way back? Probably hard to imagine that. But even just getting another guy in the mix here for the Twins would be huge. And I think it's really easy to forget how good Justin Topa was last year because we didn't get to see it. He was on the Mariners. He's been hurt all year this year. So there's some good stuff going on. It's a letdown that the Buxton and Correa returns haven't appeared to spark a whole lot yet, although today was a great performance from the team, so that's great. Hopefully, and again, hopefully maybe this is carrying forward. Don't think I'm all that optimistic, but there is always a chance. Baseball's super weird. I do think the true talent of this team, even without considering that Joe Ryan's not going to come back, the rotation's in a tough spot. There's no denying it. A lot of these rookies are either struggling to get their footing or struggling, just kind of wearing down. You can just tell they're just not as sharp as they've been. Every team can say this, but if they can make it to the postseason and then shorten up their pitching staff, it's dramatically different the way a pitching staff is used, managed, set up in the postseason than it is in the regular season. That's going to benefit the Twins. This is still a team we've seen go on really good stretches, so I don't think it's impossible that things could get going back the right direction and they could make some noise in October, because I don't think the American League is really all that amazing. So that's another thing to keep in mind. All these AL teams have had bad stretches too. I don't know that we can quite say they've had as bad of stretches as the Twins have had of late. That's maybe a stretch. But they've all had tough stretches, so And I just hope that the Twins, we see a team that I feel like is kind of representative more of what we've seen from them over the entirety of the season versus that, we can kind of push that opening bad stretch and then this most recent stretch and say, okay, this is what it looks like when things aren't going well. And that's always possible that we get that over these last 13 games. I'm not saying go bet your house on the Twins turning things around and beating up on teams, but it's definitely possible. We saw two teams do something similar last year in the Texas Rangers and the Arizona Diamondbacks. I realize people are probably tired of hearing all that kind of stuff, but it's true. It's true. Every team is different. You can't just say because they did it, we can do it, but it happened. And I think it's easy to latch onto the Rangers because they won the World Series, but I think Arizona getting out of the National League, who saw that coming? That was nuts. And that team just got hot. So it's going to be fun. Hopefully, fingers crossed, this win today for the Twins is a momentum builder and we see better things from here. But thanks for being here. We'll talk again soon.